The JSS Relentless drifted through the void like a ghost of wars past, its battle-scarred hull telling stories that newer ships could only imagine. The vessel's outdated plasma resonance drive hummed with a distinctive low frequency that made newer ships' crews wrinkle their noses when they passed, a sound they called the old ship's wheeze. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's main viewport, her dark eyes reflecting the distant stars. After 23 years of service, she knew every creak, every groan of her ship. The Relentless wasn't pretty. Its hull was a patchwork of repairs, its weapon systems considered obsolete by modern standards, and its bridge still used physical controls instead of the neural interfaces common on newer vessels. Another exciting day in the back end of nowhere. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez commented from his weapons station, not bothering to hide his frustration. At 32, he was one of the youngest crew members, assigned to the Relentless, because newer ships didn't want officers trained on outdated weapon systems. Quiet is good, Chen replied, though she understood his restlessness. The Relentless had been relegated to patrol duty in this remote sector, far from where humanity fought its desperate war against the Nexus Dominion. The advanced alien civilization had emerged from deep space 2 years ago, their ships protected by seemingly impenetrable quantum matrix shields that made conventional weapons nearly useless. Chief Engineer Dr. Maya Patel's voice crackled over the intercom, interrupting Chen's thoughts. "Captain, could you come to engineering? There's something unusual you need to see." Chen exchanged glances with Rodriguez before heading to the lift. Engineering was a maze of exposed conduits and hydraulic systems that would look more at home in a museum than a warship. She found Patel hunched over a diagnostic terminal, her graying hair escaping from its usual tight bun. "Look at these readings," Patel said without preamble, pointing to a complex wave pattern on her screen. "I've been studying our drive's resonance patterns, trying to understand why we're getting these periodic power fluctuations. But then I noticed something fascinating." Chen leaned in, though the technical data meant little to her. "What am I looking at, Maya?" "The frequency pattern of our plasma resonance drive." Patel's eyes lit up with excitement. "It's creating quantum interference patterns similar to the ones used in Nexus Dominion shield technology. But ours are different, more chaotic, less structured, and that might be exactly why they're important." Before Chen could respond, the bridge alert sounded. "Captain to the bridge." Rodriguez's voice was tense. "We have company." When Chen arrived, a holographic tactical display showed a Nexus Dominion scout ship approaching. The alien vessel was beautiful in its complexity, all smooth curves and pulsing energy conduits. Next to it, the Relentless must have looked like space debris. "They're scanning us," Rodriguez reported, focusing mainly on our engine signature. Chen watched the alien ship's movements carefully. "Let them look. To them, we're just an obsolete patrol ship not worth their time." But her mind was already working through the implications of Patel's discovery. If their old plasma resonance drive could somehow interact with Nexus Dominion shield technology. "They're transmitting," the communications officer announced. The message scrolled across the main screen in translated text. "Human vessel, your drive signature indicates severe inefficiencies. Recommend immediate return to port for modernization." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Send no response. Let them think we're exactly what we appear to be. An aging ship barely worth their notice." She turned to her crew. "But we might have just discovered something that could change everything. The question is, what do we do with that knowledge?" The Nexus Dominion ship soon departed, apparently satisfied that the Relentless posed no threat. But as Chen watched it disappear into faster-than-light travel, she knew their real work was just beginning. Sometimes the oldest tools could be the most dangerous, precisely because everyone had forgotten what they could do. "Dr. Patel," she called over the intercom, "I want you to run every test you can on those drive frequencies. If there's even a chance we've stumbled onto something that could help us fight back against the Dominion, we need to know." The Relentless continued its patrol route, looking to all the universe like nothing more than an obsolete warship serving out its final days. But within its aging hull, a discovery was taking shape that would soon shake the foundations of the war itself. Dr. Maya Patel hadn't left engineering for 36 hours, surviving on synthetic caffeine and determination. Holographic displays flickered around her workstation, showing complex wave patterns that pulsed in harmony with the relentless's aging plasma resonance drive. Lieutenant Rodriguez stood beside her, his previous frustration replaced by intense focus as they analyzed the data. "Look at this," Patel said, manipulating the holographic display. "Our drive's quantum interference pattern isn't just similar to Dominion shield technology. It's complementary, like a key that might fit their lock, but one they never expected because it's too primitive to be a threat." Rodriguez leaned closer, studying the oscillating patterns. "Can we weaponize it?" "Theoretically." Patel pulled up another display. "If we can modify our drive output to generate targeted interference patterns, we might be able to create localized disruptions in their quantum matrix shields. It wouldn't destroy them outright, but it could create windows of vulnerability." Captain Chen entered engineering, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she'd been getting as little sleep as her chief engineer. "Show me what you found." As Patel explained their discovery, Chen's expression grew increasingly thoughtful. "So our outdated drive might be able to punch holes in their supposedly impenetrable shields. But we'd need to get close, very close, to make it work. And we'd need actual combat data," Rodriguez added. "All this is theoretical until we can test it against their shields at full power." Chen nodded slowly. "Which means we need to provoke a Dominion ship into raising its shields without letting them know what we're really testing." She paused, considering their options. "How long would you need to gather the necessary data?" 30 seconds of sustained shield activation should be enough," Patel replied. "But Captain, if we're wrong about this?" "If we're wrong, we're just another obsolete patrol ship that made a foolish decision," Chen finished. "But if we're right?" She left the implications hanging in the air. Over the next week, the crew worked tirelessly to modify their drive systems. They kept the ship's patrol pattern normal, maintaining the appearance of routine while making careful preparations. Patel and her engineering team worked in shifts, fine-tuning the plasma resonance drive to generate precise interference patterns. The breakthrough came during the third day of testing. "Captain," Patel's excited voice came over the intercom, "we've managed to create a stable interference pattern that matches the theoretical frequency of their shield matrix. We're ready for a field test." Chen gathered her senior staff in the tactical room, its old-style physical displays creating a fitting backdrop for their unconventional strategy. "We know the Dominion maintains regular patrol routes through this sector," she began. "Thanks to our status as an obsolete vessel, they've grown comfortable passing close to us. We're going to use that comfort against them." She pulled up a tactical display showing their patrol sector. "There's a debris field here, left over from an old mining operation. We'll position ourselves near it, appearing to conduct routine maintenance. When a Dominion patrol passes, we'll trigger a controlled plasma leak from our drive." "They'll have to raise their shields," Rodriguez understood immediately. "Standard protocol for them when approaching potentially hazardous radiation." "Exactly," Chen nodded. "They'll think we're just another aging ship with maintenance problems. Meanwhile, we'll gather the data we need about their shield frequencies." The plan was risky. If the Dominion ship suspected anything unusual, they might decide an obsolete human vessel wasn't worth leaving operational. But as Chen looked at her crew, she saw no hesitation in their eyes. They all understood what was at stake. 2 days later, the Relentless drifted near the debris field, its external maintenance drones deployed in a convincing display of routine upkeep. Patel had rigged the plasma drive to create a controlled leak on command, while Rodriguez had their sensors calibrated to gather every scrap of data possible about the Dominion shields. "Dominion vessel approaching," the sensor operator reported. "Corvette class, standard patrol configuration. They're following the expected route." Chen watched the alien ship's approach on the tactical display. Hold positions. Let them think we're completely focused on maintenance. Maya, prepare the plasma leak, but wait for my mark. The Dominion ship drew closer, its sleek form a stark contrast to the utilitarian design of the Relentless. At first, it seemed like it might pass by without taking notice of them. But then it adjusted course slightly, moving to investigate the human vessel's activities. "They're scanning us," Rodriguez reported. "Standard patrol sweep. Wait, they're focusing on our drive signature." "Now," Chen ordered, "trigger the leak." A stream of plasma escaped from the Relentless's drive, creating a brilliant purple plume in space. The reaction from the Dominion ship was immediate. Its quantum matrix shields snapped into place, creating a shimming barrier between it and the radiation. "Gathering data," Paddle reported from engineering, her voice tense with concentration. "Shield frequencies are clear, matching our theoretical models." "Wait." She paused. "Captain, we were right. The interference patterns are even stronger than we predicted. We could potentially create a complete localized collapse of their shield matrix." The Dominion ship transmitted a message. "Human vessel, your drive system appears to be malfunctioning. Recommend immediate withdrawal from this sector for repairs." "Acknowledge their warning," Chen ordered. "Tell them we're already proceeding with emergency maintenance procedures." She smiled slightly. "Let them think they're being magnanimous by giving an obsolete ship time to limp away." As the Dominion ship departed, the bridge crew maintained their professional demeanor, but there was an electric tension in the air. They had just confirmed a weapon against the supposedly invincible Dominion shields, and their enemy hadn't even realized it. "Maya," Chen called over the intercom. "How long until you can have a working prototype of the shield disruptor?" "A few days to modify the drive outputs," Paddle replied. "But Captain, Fleet Command will never approve this. They've invested too heavily in modern weapon systems to believe an obsolete drive could succeed where they failed." Chen's expression hardened with determination. "Then we'd better make sure our proof is undeniable, because sooner or later we're going to have to use this, and when we do, everyone will finally understand why you should never underestimate an old ship and her crew." The emergency alert came at 300 ship time, jerking Captain Chen from a rare moment of sleep. A distress signal, cutting through the usual background chatter of space. A civilian mining vessel under attack by Dominion forces. "How far?" Chen demanded as she strode onto the bridge, her uniform hastily donned. 40 minutes at maximum thrust," Rodriguez answered from his station. "It's the Hyperion Mining Corporation ship prospector. They're carrying a full load of rare earth elements. The Dominion hit them just as they were preparing to jump to FTL." Chen studied the tactical display. The prospector was trying to escape into a dense asteroid field, but 2 Dominion corvettes were pursuing, their superior maneuverability making the mining ship's strategy a desperate gamble at best. "We're the only military vessel within range," the communications officer reported. "Fleet Command has acknowledged the distress call, but..." She hesitated. "They're ordering all patrol ships to maintain their current sectors." The implication was clear. The prospector and its crew of 35 were being written off as an acceptable loss. Chen's jaw tightened as she considered their options. The shield disruptor was installed but barely tested. Using it would reveal their advantage to the Dominion, and there was no guarantee it would work as theorized. "Maya," Chen called to engineering. "What's the status of our modification?" "Online but untested in actual combat conditions," Paddle responded. "We've only run simulations. If we engage now..." She left the risks unspoken. Chen looked at her bridge crew. They didn't need to voice their opinions. She could read it in their faces. "Plot an intercept course. All hands to battle stations." The Relentless's engines roared to full power, pushing the old ship harder than it had been pushed in years. In engineering, Patel and her team worked frantically to fine-tune the plasma resonance drive, preparing it for its first real combat test. Message from the prospector. Communications reported. "Their engine's been hit. They're losing power." "Show me the Dominion attack pattern," Chen ordered. The tactical display updated, showing how the two corvettes were systematically wearing down the mining ship's defenses. They were taking their time, confident no help would arrive. "We'll only get one shot at this," Chen said. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, target the lead corvette the moment their shields show weakness. Engineering, stand by with the disruptor. We need a clear demonstration of what this ship can do." The Relentless dropped out of FTL on the edge of the asteroid field. The Dominion corvettes detected them immediately, but their reaction was dismissive. A single outdated patrol ship hardly warranted interrupting their attack. "They're sending a warning," communication said, "ordering us to withdraw or be destroyed." No response, Chen ordered. "Maya, begin power-up sequence for the disruptor. Rodriguez, load kinetic penetrators. Let's show them what obsolete weapons can do." The Relentless accelerated toward the battle, its ancient engines straining. The lead Dominion corvette finally seemed to take notice, breaking off its attack on the Prospector to deal with this new annoyance. Its quantum matrix shields flickered with deadly beauty as it moved to intercept. "They're charging weapons," Rodriguez reported. "Their shields are at maximum power." "Perfect," Chen smiled grimly. "Maya, activate the disruptor." Full power. The Relentless's plasma resonance drive changed tone, its familiar wheeze becoming a deep pulsing hum. The wave patterns they discovered began to interact with the Dominion ship's shield matrix, creating cascading disruptions in its seemingly impenetrable defense. Shield disruption at 30%, 50%. Patel called out the readings, localized collapse forming in their aft quadrant. "Now, Rodriguez," Chen ordered, "show them why kinetic weapons never go out of style." The Relentless's rail guns, considered hopelessly primitive by modern standards, roared to life. High-velocity penetrator rounds streaked through space, passing through the momentary gap in the Dominion ship's shields. The impacts were devastating. Without their defensive screen, the corvette's hull proved vulnerable to the simple physics of hyperaccelerated tungsten. The second corvette, witnessing its companion's sudden vulnerability, broke off its attack on the Prospector and moved to engage. But now, they were facing a threat they didn't understand, an obsolete ship-wielding impossible technology. "They're trying to adapt their shield frequencies," Paddle reported. "But our interference pattern is too chaotic for them to compensate. The basic principles of their technology work against them." Chen watched as the second corvette attempted to maintain its shields while returning fire. Energy weapons splashed against the Relentless's hull, scoring the old armor but failing to penetrate. "Come on, old girl," Chen whispered. "Show them what you can do." The battle that followed was brief but intense. The Dominion ships, their greatest advantage neutralized, found themselves facing an enemy they had dismissed as irrelevant. When the second corvette finally retreated, its hull scarred by multiple kinetic impacts, it left behind its destroyed companion and a shattered assumption about human military technology. Prospector reports their engines are back online. Communications announced. They're requesting escort to the nearest safe port. Chen nodded, but her mind was already racing ahead. The Dominion would analyze this encounter, would realize that their supposedly invincible shield technology had been countered by a ship they had dismissed as obsolete. The element of surprise was gone. "Send a full report to Fleet Command," she ordered. "Include all sensor data from the engagement. They need to understand what we've discovered here." She paused, looking at the tactical display where the destroyed Dominion corvette drifted. "And they need to understand that sometimes the old ways aren't just reliable. They're revolutionary." The aftermath of the battle brought no celebration aboard the Relentless. Instead, the crew worked with grim determination, analyzing data and reinforcing damaged systems. They knew they had just painted a target on their backs. "Fleet Command has received our report," Communications Officer Lisa Park announced, her expression troubled. "They're ordering us to return to base immediately for operational assessment and refit." Chen stood at her familiar spot by the bridge viewport, watching as repair drones worked on the hull damage. "They want to study our modification, maybe even decommission the Relentless to reverse engineer it. Captain, Patel's voice came over the intercom. You need to see these long-range sensor readings. The tactical display updated to show multiple Dominion signatures converging on their sector. Not patrol ships this time, full battle groups. The Dominion was taking no chances with this new threat to their supposed invulnerability. They're not just coming for us, Rodriguez observed, studying the deployment patterns. They're accelerating their entire offensive. Multiple attack groups targeting human colonies and installations across 3 sectors. Chen understood the strategy. The Dominion was moving to crush humanity's resistance before the shield vulnerability could be exploited on a larger scale. How long until those battle groups reach their targets? 18 hours at their current speed, Rodriguez replied. The nearest target is New Providence Colony. 40,000 civilians, minimal defenses. And Fleet Command's response. They're mobilizing. But most of our heavy units are tied up defending the core systems. They can't redeploy in time to protect the outer colonies. Chen's expression hardened. The Relentless's discovery had triggered this escalation, and now innocent lives hung in the balance. Plot a course to New Providence. Maximum speed. Captain, Park interjected. Fleet Command's orders. Will take too long to implement, Chen finished. If we return to base now, thousands will die while bureaucrats study our modifications. We have a working prototype and combat experience with it. We're the only ones who can act in time. The bridge crew exchanged glances, then turned to their stations with renewed purpose. They all knew the cost of disobeying orders, but they also understood the cost of following them. Engineering reports the drive modifications are stable, Patel called up. But Captain, we've detected something concerning in the sensor data from our last engagement. The Dominion ships were already beginning to adapt their shield frequencies. Our advantage may be temporary. Chen nodded grimly. Then we'll have to make it count while we have it. How many ships are in the battle group heading for New Providence? 3 heavy cruisers, 8 destroyers, and support craft, Rodriguez reported. They're not taking chances this time. Neither are we, Chen replied. Maya, I need options. How can we maximize the effect of our shield disruption? Over the next hours, as the Relentless raced toward New Providence, the crew worked to refine their tactics. Patel's team discovered they could modify the disruption field's frequency in real time, making it harder for the Dominion ships to adapt. Rodriguez developed new firing solutions that took advantage of even momentary shield weaknesses. They were 12 hours out from New Providence when the first complication arose. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL, Park announced. Human signatures. It's the 43rd Patrol Squadron. 5 ships appeared on their tactical display, all older vessels like the Relentless, relegated to patrol duty in the outer sectors. Their commander, Captain Victor Santos, hailed them immediately. Captain Chen. Santos' hologram appeared on the bridge. We picked up your battle telemetry. Impressive work. Fleet Command ordered us to intercept and escort you back to base. Chen met her old colleague's gaze. Victor, you've seen the deployment patterns. You know what's coming from New Providence. Santos nodded slowly. We do. That's why we're not here to escort you back. A slight smile crossed his face. We're here to escort you forward. These old ships might not have the latest technology, but they all have plasma resonance drives that can be modified. Hope flickered in Chen's chest for the first time since seeing the Dominion battle groups. How long to implement the modifications? Dr. Patel's data was very thorough. We've already begun the work. We'll be combat ready before we reach New Providence. 6 aging patrol ships against a Dominion battle group. The odds were still overwhelming, but now they had a fighting chance. As the small fleet accelerated toward their destination, Chen looked at her crew's determined faces. The Dominion had dismissed these old ships and their crews as irrelevant, had pushed them to the fringes of space. Now that mistake would cost them dearly. All ships, begin combat preparations, Chen ordered. We have less than 10 hours to prepare for the largest engagement any of us have ever faced. The Dominion thinks they know what these old ships are capable of. It's time to prove them wrong. New Providence's star cast long shadows across the 6 patrol ships as they took up defensive positions around the colony. The Relentless led the formation, its scared hull gleaming in the starlight. Behind them, civilian evacuation ships streamed away from the colony, carrying as many people as they could. Dominion Battle Group will arrive in 20 minutes, Rodriguez reported. All ships report their shield disruptors are operational and calibrated to our specifications. Chen surveyed the tactical display, where 6 small dots represented their ships against the approaching wave of Dominion forces. Status of the colony evacuation. 60% complete, Park responded. But we need at least 40 more minutes to get everyone out. Time they didn't have. The Dominion Battle Group would arrive long before the evacuation could finish. They would have to hold the line somehow. All ships, this is Captain Chen, she broadcast to the patrol squadron. You've all seen the odds we're facing. The Dominion thinks these old ships belong in a scrapyard. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we show them why you should never underestimate human ingenuity or human determination. The responses came back immediately, each captain affirming their commitment. They were all veterans, all had suffered the indignity of being pushed aside for newer technology. Now they had a chance to prove their worth. Multiple FTL signatures detected, Rodriguez announced. Dominion Battle Group arriving. The space around New Providence lit up as the Dominion fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. Their ships were beautiful and deadly, their quantum matrix shields shimmering with power. The main battle group consisted of 3 massive cruisers, each one nearly the size of 3 patrol ships combined, accompanied by their escort of destroyers and support craft. They're transmitting, Park reported. Text only. Obsolete vessels, you have interfered with Dominion operations for the last time. Surrender and prepare for boarding or be destroyed. No response needed, Chen ordered. All ships, execute formation Delta. Remember your training. Hit and fade. Don't let them pin you down. Make them work for every inch of space. The battle began with a devastating display of Dominion firepower. Energy weapons lanced out from their cruisers, expecting to easily overwhelm the outdated human vessels. But the patrol ships broke formation with surprising agility, their experienced crews knowing exactly how to handle their vessels. Shield disruptors at full power, Paddle reported from engineering. Targeting the lead cruiser, disruption field established. The Relentless's modified plasma drive pulsed with power, its quantum interference patterns spreading out to interact with the Dominion shields. The other patrol ships followed suit, each one targeting the specific enemy vessel. The effect was immediate. The previously impenetrable Dominion shields began to fluctuate and weaken. They're trying to adapt, Rodriguez called out as the first volley of kinetic rounds streaked through space. Changing shield frequencies, but they can't match our disruption patterns fast enough. The battle devolved into a complex dance of ships and energy. The patrol ships used their smaller size and superior maneuverability to stay out of the Dominion's main firing arcs while maintaining their disruption fields. When gaps appeared in the enemy shields, precisely targeted kinetic rounds caused devastating damage. 2 Dominion destroyers disabled, Santos reported from his ship. But the cruisers are pressing their attack. They're trying to break through to the colony. Chen watched as the massive Dominion cruisers advanced, their commanders willing to sacrifice their escorts to achieve their objective. All ships concentrate disruption fields on the lead cruiser. Full power. The combined effect of 6 shield disruptors focused on a single target was something they hadn't tested before. The cruiser's quantum matrix shields began to collapse completely, creating a cascade failure that spread through its defense systems. Major power surge detected in the target vessel, Rodriguez reported with urgency. Their shield generators are overloading. The lead cruiser's shield matrix exploded in a spectacular display of energy, leaving the vessel completely vulnerable. The patrol ship's rail guns spoke in unison, their kinetic rounds tearing through the exposed hull. Secondary explosions bloomed along the cruiser's length as its own power systems turned against it. The remaining Dominion ships faltered, their perfect formation breaking apart as they witnessed their flagship's destruction. But the battle was far from over. The patrol ships had revealed their full capabilities, and now the enemy was adapting. Their changing tactics, Chen observed as the Dominion fleet regrouped, trying to overwhelm our disruption fields with synchronized shield modulations. Maya options. Their synchronization is their weakness, Paddle responded. If we can get our disruption fields to resonate at opposing frequencies, Captain, I need all ships to coordinate their drive outputs precisely. Chen quickly relayed the instructions to the squadron. The timing would have to be perfect, a feat that would have been impossible with newer automated systems. But these crews knew their ships, knew exactly how to coax the necessary performance from their aging drives. The next phase of the battle became a testament to human skill and coordination. The patrol ships moved in perfect harmony, their disruption fields creating a complex web of quantum interference that the Dominion ships couldn't counter. One by one, gaps appeared in their defenses, and the supposedly obsolete human vessels pressed their advantage. Colony evacuation 80% complete, Park reported. 10 more minutes needed. They're bringing in reinforcements, Rodriguez warned. 2 more destroyer groups detected approaching at FTL speeds. Chen gripped her command chair as the Relentless shuddered under enemy fire. We hold the line. No matter what comes through that FTL corridor, we hold until every civilian is safe. The battle reached its crescendo as the Dominion reinforcements arrived. The space around New Providence became a chaos of energy weapons, kinetic rounds, and quantum disruption fields. The patrol ship's armor was scored and burned, their hulls stressed to their limits, but they refused to break. And then, just as it seemed they couldn't hold any longer, new signals appeared on the tactical display. Multiple FTL signatures, Park announced, her voice rising with excitement. It's the fleet. They're here. The space behind the Dominion forces erupted with new arrivals. Dozens of human warships, their weapons already firing. The Dominion fleet, caught between the patrol squadron's disruption fields and the fresh human forces, began to break apart. Hours later, as the last Dominion ship retreated from the sector, Chen stood in the Relentless's observation deck, watching repair drones work on the battle damage. The ship's hull was more scared than ever, but each mark told a story of survival against impossible odds. Fleet Command is hailing, Park reported. They're ordering all patrol ships to return to base for immediate refit. They want to begin implementing our shield disruption technology across the entire fleet. Chen smiled slightly. Send them our acknowledgement, and inform them that the Relentless and her squadron will require extensive repairs, but we'll be keeping our obsolete hardware. As the stars streaked by outside, Chen thought about the lesson they'd taught the Dominion and their own people. Sometimes the oldest tools were the most effective, precisely because everyone had forgotten what they could do. The Relentless and her crew had reminded the galaxy of that truth, and in doing so, they had changed the course of the war itself.